You are leaving. Not for long, only a couple of hours while everyone is asleep. It won't do anyone any harm, you just need to go for a walk and clear your head. An hour or so after you hear the last people stop talking and go into their assorted huts, you get up and head out. You don't know where you're going. As you leave, you take every road that seems the least familiar to you. You go directly down roads that 1922 usually avoids. You were sure to bring plenty of scraps of cloth so as to shield you from the wind and rain. Thusly prepared, you march onward into the storm. You keep walking and walking. The path you're on is rather straight. Nothing is very confusing about it. You're positive of the way home even. You don't see why 1922 is so worried about leaving alone. You round the corner of a particularly large trash mountain, and suddenly your entire view is obstructed by a ginormous black wall. Curious, you inspect it. It is several times taller than you, and completely smooth. There were no footholds anywhere on it. You look to see if there are any trash piles nearby to climb over it with, but you notice there is a very distinct dead zone between the trash and the wall. The space between you and the wall is about as long as the wall is tall. Unsure of what to do about this, or how long you have been gone, you decide to go back to town and get some sleep so no one suspects that you snuck out. Though you plan on coming back. The next morning at breakfast you are quieter than usual. Not because you're tired, but because you are deep in thought. It was incredibly easy for you to find your way home last night, and you wonder why 1922's friend couldn't. You consider that he might have gotten over the wall, but you doubt it. There is no indication that anyone had ever found a way over the wall. You plan on stacking garbage next to the wall so as to make your own way over, which is what you assume 1922's friend would have done, but there were no trash piles anywhere near the wall. 1922's friend. Why just friend? Why didn't 1991 tell you a number? Surely she would know the number of her father's best friend. She is his daughter. Wait. Who was her mother? In all the time you have lived in town, no one has mentioned a wife for 1922. Things just aren't adding up. You begin to doubt the validity of 1922's friend's existence, and even, as odd as it sounds, the validity of 1922's claim that 1991 is his daughter. The rest of the day, you are very talkative. You ask everyone that you talk to, very casually, what they knew about 1922's friend and wife. Everyone you ask about the missing friend tells you the exact same story that 1991 told you. Everyone you ask about her mother says the same thing also. She was very nice, very pretty. She died a long time ago, though. Very unfortunate. No one would give you more information than these knee-jerk reactions. You might not have any evidence, but you are sure of your theory that 1922's friend and wife never existed. With this new information, you have lost all faith in 1922. You don't let him know that, however, so you wear the constant facade of a loyal follower. You continue speaking at dinner and even carry polite conversation with him from time to time, and help him with his stutter, and let him claim your words as his own. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, however, you are working against him. Every day you focus your efforts on convincing at least one more person of your theory and instilling doubt in people's minds. Those you do convince, you sneak out of the camp as often as possible so as to begin the work of moving trash across the dead zone to make a way over the wall. Finally, it is finished. You go back to town with the intention of inviting everyone to go over the wall with you. Listeners, the story you have just heard shows exactly what happens to people when there is not sufficient supervision for their protection. Hello, my name is Anderson Crow, and you are listening to your local Teakwood Live broadcast. This man, though he thinks he is doing the right thing, is going to murder this perfect little town. 1922, though a great leader of a few people, does not have the sufficient assistance to keep everyone in town in check. The central character of our story has taken advantage of this weakness and is now tearing the small civilization apart. He is like a raven, the pretext for the death of this small town. He infects other people with his malicious ways of thinking. If successful, he will feast on the carrion of this perfect society and mutate it into some unholy corpse, a shadow of its former state of being. The next and final installment in this exciting series brought to you by Big Brother will be featured in a broadcast next week. Next, listeners, I have something important to share with you. I received a letter at the end of yesterday from a man on the front lines of the nature war by the name of Deltan Worrd. He wrote to me about his optimistic feelings about the war and the enduring devotion of the soldiers to the protection of Teakwood. Here is his letter, which he wrote on the 4th of April, this being his 4th year at war. Hello, listeners in Teakwood. My biggest dream has always been to get on the radio. I would have killed to get on the radio as a young boy because I loved it so much. The radio inspired us all as a community, and all thanks to Big Brother for initiating the broadcast. It still inspires all us folks down on the front lines as well. The news that there could even be a possible ending to the war was especially encouraging. Though grueling, it is going well for us here. Now that we know about the actualized infinity, the war can't be lost. As long as we stay vigilant and never back down against the hordes of nature until the day that we know that Teakwood is safe. This is still war, however, and many people I have grown to know and cherish have given their lives for Teakwood, and I hope that you, like I, will never forget them. My desire is only to live long enough to hear the radio broadcast that announces the completion of this final barrier between Teakwood and the outside world. I face my death every day alongside other brave heroes so as to keep the great city of Teakwood safe. There you go, listeners, a little bit of encouraging news from the front. Affirmation once again that our grand city-state cannot be toppled, even in the face of certain death, and a prime example of an upstanding citizen who has devoted his entire life to the betterment of Teakwood city-state. Best of wishes to you, Deltan Worrd. I can't wait to broadcast the happy news to you. Now, I have a word from our sponsors. Then we will continue with the broadcast. Teakwood Scout Camp is a proud sponsor for Teakwood Live Broadcast. Scout Camp is a fantastic opportunity for all the youth in the city to have fun and learn at the same time. Each camp session lasts for 1 month and is a good alternative to a month of school. During this month's retreat, the youth will go through military imitation games and training. They will learn state-approved skills and thought patterns which are both exciting and give the youth an incredible boost as they enter adulthood. If the youth is particularly exceptional in his retreat, he could even be signed up for advanced scout camp. I might add that every agent of Big Brother went through the advanced camp and said it was incredibly central to getting them ready for such an important job. Scout camp retreats for every age group are held multiple times a year so as to make it easier to sign up when convenient. You may register your youth for any of his or her respective age group retreats, so long as the youth makes it to at least one a year until the youth graduates. It is mandatory. Listeners, I have a public correction and safety warning. Recently, it has been reported that many people have been watching the sunset and wondering why it looks the way it does. Let me explain why the sunset looks like a sunset for all of you confused listeners out there. The sun, being a very large ball of flame in the far reaches of space, would very naturally look like a giant pillar of flames as it sets. As light refracts through the atmosphere at such a large angle as the sunset or sunrise for that matter, it contorts and ceases to look like a ball at all, and instead twists into what looks like a very large, very close pillar of flames. Sunsets and rises have always looked like this, and I'm not sure why so many people are getting so worked up about it now. Now for the public safety part of this message. Recent research at the Reclusive Research Laboratory has discovered that regular exposure of the retina to sunsets and rises can have permanent damaging effects, resulting in the partial or total blindness of the eye. Now, listeners, I realize it has been a long-held tradition to, every evening, look off in the direction of the war camps and remember those who have fallen, but we are going to have to be more careful about it now. I'm not saying to drop the tradition completely. I'm only saying that no one is allowed to look towards the camps during sunsets or sunrises because it is extremely unhealthy. If you care at all for your eyesight, you will not look in the direction of the war camps during the sunset anymore. Thank you. Well, listeners, there go the curfew bells. Pay your respects to the war camps before the sun starts to set, and make your way inside, folks. I would like to thank the Teakwood Youth Scout Camp once again for their cooperation in sponsoring us today. Before I sign off, the Neighborhood Watch program would like to remind you that if you see anything illegal, unpatriotic, or just plain rude, report it immediately to the nearest stop sign or public trash can. Or just yell really loudly. Someone will notice and come to your aid. With that, folks, I bid you a good night. And remember, all is bliss.